Good morning, everybody. Hope you're
Good,
doing well.
good morning.
Good morning. Oh, was that a scratchy voice?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scratchy voice, but I sound worse than I feel, I think.
Sorry to hear that. It's kind of the season in our schools. Kind
Yeah,
of different things are sweeping through every week. And we're all just trying to take our extra vitamin C in the morning and hope that that works.
I know. I forget that it's been a while, so
Mhm.
our bodies have to build up their defenses again.
I think so.
Yeah, and I got my flu and COVID vaccines this week too, so that just compounded it all.
I did too. I did a right arm and a left arm, and small world at DH, my acupuncturist was there. So we hung out together for 15 minutes until we could get back into our cars. That was good. I know that Deli emailed me that she wasn't going to be able to make it. And I did get a notice from Sunny and Lisa that they were trying to access the agenda. So Leona, I'll let you know that they might not have a Vital Communities link or something like that, but I did share it with them. So they should be able to hop on and see it. I also asked them in my email to triple check their work groups. I'm pretty sure that Sunny is workforce recruitment and retention as well as advocacy. And I know Lisa's advocacy, but I also thought she was R&R too, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Hmm.
Amy, is Lisa on workforce recruitment and retention? Her last name is Bozvart.
I know
Those-
Sunny is, but I can't remember.
We'll find that out because I want to make sure that we are reaching out to everybody and getting them the information and they can access things. Okay.
Yeah, I think Lisa emailed us, Sarah and I this morning saying that she couldn't make it just because someone left the center and she's kind of covering, but she's going to the advocacy trainings that New Futures is doing in Concord, so she's staying kind of connected that way.
Great. And I see other people hopping on. Hi, Sunny. Were you able to get into the agenda okay?
I wasn't earlier. I haven't tried just now. I just popped out of a meeting, a parent meeting, so I'm catching up and just logging on, making sure I had the right link.
No problem. I did click on it to share it. And so hopefully you'll be able to get onto it. So our icebreaker of the morning with our introduction is favorite ice cream flavor. But if you're a person who is not tolerant of ice cream, you can choose any kind of sweet treat that you might like. So I'm Joanne Roberts. I'm consulting to help facilitate our conversations. And the only ice cream I eat since I think I was like 6 has been mint chocolate chip. And I really have not strayed very far from that in a long time. How about you, Brooke?
Good morning, Brooke Freeland with the Couch Family Foundation. And my favorite ice cream is Ben & Jerry's Half Baked, which is getting harder and harder to find here in Austin. So whenever I find it, I grab it.
How about you, Sarah?
Sarah Kobolinsky, also with Couch Family Foundation. And I am known to be, absolutely indiscriminate when it comes to ice cream. I will eat any kind, pretty much. I probably don't eat ones with peanut butter, but other than that, probably almost any kind. So
How about you, Leona? Part of our team. What do you like to eat?
Oh, I really like chocolate chip cookie dough. She'll treat.
Amy?
I love ice cream. Ice cream doesn't love me, but sometimes I splurge. Amy Brooks, Early Care and Education Association. And if I take the right Pepsid dosage, I can handle a really good chocolate chip cookie dough as well, Leona.
All right. Hi, Sunny.
I'm Sunny McPetras from Dartmouth College, the director of the Child Care Center. And I'm like Amy. I like ice cream. Ice cream doesn't like me any longer. The older I get, the less it likes me. But when I ate ice cream, my favorite was Ben & Jerry's New York Super Fudge Chunk.
Great. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning. Nice to see everyone. My favorite ice cream is, well, currently Giffords has a flavor called Campfire S'mores, which is really good. So
Great. Good morning, Charlotte. We get to see you and another lovely face.
Yes, good morning. I'm Charlotte. I'm a parent to this little guy named Silas. He's home sick with me today. I have another older daughter who's in school, thankfully. Favorite food? Is that sorry, I jumped on late.
Yeah, we were talking about ice cream, but if you don't like ice cream, any kind of dessert or treat.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, favorite ice cream. What do you think, buddy? Yeah, you like ice cream? Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Salted caramel, maybe?
Great. I'm gonna have to try some new things is what I'm learning from this conversation. Everything sounds really great. So we have an important agenda today, kind of an exciting one. Deli let me know that she wasn't going to be able to make it. So she said she'd attend the next meeting, so we'll get an update. I also want you to know that I've kept in the loop. They've canceled the meeting and I asked if it had been rescheduled. I emailed them and they hadn't rescheduled it yet, but she said she would let me know. That was the group with Deli and a person from the New Hampshire New Futures, and they were working on kind of their promotion idea and their storybook. And I haven't heard back from them, but I wanted to keep in the loop, so I emailed them. I don't see Tammy here, but does anyone know if the Vermont Candidates Night was held? She talked about doing that. Okay, I will send her an email and just ask her because I'm curious if she did that and how that worked out. So what I shared in the agenda is the North Star for the steering committee. And can everybody see the agenda, or do you want me to pull the agenda up as a shared doc? Why don't I pull it up? It's a little bit of a different format today, so I'm going to have to learn. It's not the right button. Yes, it looks like a shared application. Bear with me. What's this format that we're using today? Just so I know. Is it an updated Zoom? Just the format's just a bit different, which is great. I love to learn, but I apologize. It's just going to take me a few minutes to figure it out.
Do you want me to drop it in the chat, Joanne?
Yeah, I have the ability to share my screen. Do you want me to pull it up?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No, it's not the agenda, it's an email that you just pulled up.
Oh, it's not the steering committee North Star.
Nope, it's an email from Amy.
Well, at least Amy and I share positive emails, so that's good. Let's see it. I'll try one more time. And then ask if somebody could put it in the chat. Why don't we do that?
If you throw them, you have to pick them up. Sorry about that. Didn't realize I was off mute. I got the 21-month-old here.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were talking to me. I'm like, what?
No, she's
That's
busy. She's busy, whirling foam letter things around here.
I think we should just let all the little kids take over the meeting and just put them
know.
on the Zoom.
Can we,
We're down, we're down in the basement playroom here.
can you see it now on the screen?
Mhm.
You can see the North Star? Because I can't see you and the document at the same time.
Yeah, we can see it, Joanne.
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So the steering committee created this as their North Star. So the goal of early childhood education 3-year initiative is to facilitate an increase in high quality, accessible and affordable early childhood education in the bi-state Upper Valley area by improving conditions for early childhood professionals and families and supporting opportunities that will transform and ready the early childhood education system for investment. The focus is to facilitate the increase of availability, promotion of the profession through fair wages and professional development, and development of sustainable business models to improve the economic vitality of the region. And the last time we met, this group started with some language on September 23rd. And then I've had some conversations in between, but the language that we had was promote and advocate bi-state exchange of legislation and policies that advance the goal of the initiative in each state and engage Upper Valley businesses. Based on the conversations that I've had, and because we really can't get into the politics, we thought that we might tweak the language. And if you could, Leona, put in the chat the September language and this language, I will go back to be able to see everybody's faces. But perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out as a springboard for you to revise and do with whatever you'd like, advocate for the increase in high quality, accessible, and affordable early childhood education in the bi-state Upper Valley by focusing on increasing availability, promoting the profession through fair wages and professional development, and developing sustainable business models to improve the economic vitality of the region. And my thinking behind that is, I think each work group should connect directly back with the steering committee's North Star as best as we can. But once again, it's just thinking and throwing some things out. So I'm going to stop the share. Hopefully in the chat, you see the language. And I wonder what people think and what direction you'd like to head with the language of the North Star for this group. And feel free to chime in while you're thinking of that. I also thought about some goals, that strategic goals we might want to think about, which are part of the agenda. So I think if maybe we talk about this group creating and publishing a one-pager pitch and plan for both Vermont and New Hampshire, as far as the data that perhaps Kim and Amy are pulling and some of the data from research that's happening. We could, so today I'm meeting with Ann Duncan Cooley, Allison and Tracy to talk about business providing discounts, different kind of financial guidance for ECE professionals. Also talked about, this group agreed to create a centralized online communication platform for ECE advocacy opportunities. At the last meeting, the group agreed to support advocacy skills and opportunities in the community, and also to figure out how best to support the April Week of the Child. So those are some of the goals for the committee. Trying not to have this block anybody's face.
Just for, might as well just put it in there. It's actually the week of the young child.
Okay, thank you.
And that's April 2nd through 8th in 2023.
Second through. You think the language of the suggested revision captures the major focus so that any action steps this group takes, it would fall under this paragraph? Or are there other things that you want to add to the language?
I think I missed the conversation when we were talking about this the first time, so sorry for that, but was the shift away from legislation and policy and more towards like the sort of end goals purposeful? So we want to move away from the language about policy and legislation, or do we want to try to bring some of that back in?
I think Sarah and I talked a bit about it and I wasn't 100% sure. Do you want to share the conversation that we had, Sarah?
You're really pushing me to remember things that happened more than 24 hours ago. So what I was concerned about was not the language about policy, but the fact that it was language that was about exchanging information between the two states as opposed to taking any kind of action to do anything. And so, I was in agreement with Joanne that any work group charter should tie back to the central vision. And I would agree that this version that we're looking at now really ended up getting relatively vague as a result of that. In terms of not, it's either all inclusive because advocacy is so many things, or it has, or as I might infer from what you're saying, that it loses something about that part of advocacy that's about public, that's about the broader level policies and legislation. So
Yeah.
I think that looking at that, I don't think we should just be assuming that because this is a draft that's there that we're ready to adopt it as it is.
We could add language in at any appropriate point that also says supporting broader legislation that promotes all of these things as well. So we wouldn't be writing out the legislation, but definitely I think it's okay for this group to push out, is my understanding, push out information that has been written. So is there a place within this section that says supporting broad legislation that supports the increase in high quality, accessible and affordable? Is there a way to put that in there?
Yeah, and maybe using the word policy instead of legislation, which is a little broader. So supporting policies that, align with the North Star and not so much legislation, because while we as individuals will be able to say we support legislation, vital communities won't be able to really advocate on specific legislation, like a specific bill. So
do we do a separate sentence at the end that says this includes support of policies? This includes...
Well, I put a suggestion in the chat. Like, I guess I was thinking it, like, the revision's a little long and it seems somewhat repetitive. So I think you could take out, like, you already say you're advocating for high quality, accessible, affordable childcare at the beginning. So I don't think you need to then focus on availability, promoting fair wages and professional. Well, some of it just felt like we're saying we're advocating for it and focusing on it. So what if we advocate for policy and investment to support the increase in high quality, accessible, affordable ECE in the bi-state Upper Valley by focusing on fair wages and professional development and sustainable business models? I don't know, I think because this group seems to focus a lot on advocating for policy, and I don't know if investment is the right word, but a lot of the people who come to the meeting are connected to, people who are involved in policy or doing it themselves, legislation, thinking about using funds appropriately to support ECE. So, and there's other work groups that are focusing on recruitment and retention, right? And like that might be professional development, fair wages. So like, I just think that the idea of focusing on policy that supports that rather than, I don't know how else you would support some of that through the other work groups, but it's just my suggestion.
I like the direction that's heading. How about others? I see Sunny, you're nodding. Other people are nodding. So is the suggestion, if we were to copy paste that, does it end with economic vitality of the region, or did you shorten that part too?
It's in the chat, Joanne. Can you see the chat?
Yeah, the chat, it says,
Erica's entry into the chat.
and it ends with vitality of the region.
Yeah, and like, what about, since we're focusing on the Upper Valley, like I'm just wondering, we don't have to do this, but like the main employers just seem like they could be referenced in some way, or like, I don't know, I still think Dartmouth, Hypertherm, DH, like there has been no movement at Dartmouth to do anything. But I'm going to be on that Cowley now, the Council of Work-Life Issues at Dartmouth, as the Geisel Medical School rep. So we have a meeting next week, and there's been like little movements here and there, but nothing centralized. And I don't know what's happening at DH, but there are like people just still, I mean, I don't know when they're going to realize that if people don't have childcare, they can't work. Like we had a physician move here and she had to delay her start date because she didn't have childcare. So it's just like, it's frustrating. So I don't know, I mean, that's kind of why I'm here. Like I want to try to engage Dartmouth and DH just because that's where I work in this conversation more. So that's
Well,
my side.
I have a sort of a passing citing item that might fit in here for both Erica and Charlotte. The organization Moms Rising, which has operated primarily in the southern part of New Hampshire, but is really looking to expand out their reach throughout the state, is a parent voice group specifically. And it is recognized at the state level as really carrying parent voice. And they, and their executive director was Christina D'Alessandro, who is now with the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, and their new executive director is Mackenzie Nicholson. And she's been in touch with a number of us, actually, including Joanne. And she is wanting to see if this area is really ready to, with the support of the Moms Rising organization, really strengthen the parent voice piece. And I thought of the two of you as people perhaps who we should be, if you're interested, be connecting with Mackenzie to see what that might mean. Moms Rising is a national organization with state chapters. I don't believe Vermont has one. I've never seen any evidence of one in Vermont, but New Hampshire is solid and trying to grow stronger. So if, I didn't want to pass on your names or contact information without your permission.
Yeah, I'd be happy for you to share my name. I have somewhat limited bandwidth for this sort of work. I love it, but now I feel like now that I'm getting connected, it's easier to know how to talk about this and advocate for it. So yeah, please pass my name along.
Okay. And,
This is why
That's-
we're here.
Sorry, Sarah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
it's
okay with you passing on my name too. I think I met somebody, I can't remember her name, at a meeting with Ellie once. So yeah, feel free.
No, it's not better.
It's not, nope.
All right, does somebody want to take a stab at combining the different ideas that we have, which are all important? So we started with, if we could start with Erica's paragraph and then add in sustainable business models. And we also have, I saw Brooks and the sustainable business model, and then also grassroots advocacy, engaging a broad range of stakeholders for the economic reality. So I'm gonna capture this one. And then someone wrote, not sure what meant by development sustainable business model, so maybe that could be cut, reduced. Just so we're working on the same thing. And
Amy, you might know more. I'm feeling like the sustainable business models is more aimed at new programs that might be coming in and existing programs to help them be be able to be sustainable and not just jump into the field and not know, because lots of times early childhood people don't have the business knowledge. So finding ways to advocate for that is, that's how I interpreted it.
Oh, that's helpful, Sunny. So it was sustainable business models of childcare centers.
That was my
Yeah, okay. No, that
interpretation.
helps. I was like, why
Yeah.
are we thinking about, okay,
Yeah.
that is helpful.
Thinking of
Hmm.
And I, especially now more than ever, we are seeing, that the centers that are already operating are finding themselves in some position. One of the key things that keeps coming up is, can you find me a new building? Can you find me an affordable building? Can you, it's that overhead cost that's just dragging them down. And I still feel like that's one of the things that that Kim Vada and I talked about in the survey is there some low hanging fruit, or there's some like business consulting we can do for these people? Like, do we need a real estate agent? Like, how can we get them out of these very unsustainable facilities that they're in? And programs, it's just, instead of looking always to start new programs, I know of at least 2 that are in a church basement that would love to have a building and expand. But that takes capital investment and somebody with an expertise and in doing those capital campaigns. And of course, all of that relies on workforce. Like, just I keep coming back to workforce, and I know I'm supposed to be fixing that in the other work group, but I think, like, in order to get high quality and accessible childcare, we're going to need to tackle this staffing issue. And I really think that it's all hands on deck when it comes to that. It's not just, I would like to see that as like a Vital Communities focus for all groups, but it's such a big thing to tackle. The other piece, as far as affordable, that's advocating for state policy. Like we just heard yesterday that New Hampshire put in the budget for enrollment-based childcare. First time ever, like big deal. It's a big deal for New Hampshire. So that is a big piece of, if that goes through in the new budget, that will be a huge piece to helping families afford childcare. But at the same time, affordable and what the market rate is and what it actually costs is two different things. So we're back to like, how do we find real money for wages? So it's a very complicated, it's such a complicated issue. And I guess I didn't help you at all in that, but I guess I see this as, you know, the root of it coming down to not just legislation, but also some local work that we can do. You know, non-policy advocacy.
It definitely all, you're right, Devin. It all blends together, and the more I'm part of the conversations, the more a bit of a chicken and egg it is. So we have to kind of come at it from the different angles, Amy, as you've described, because they all interact with each other. And hopefully
That's why I'm liking Erica's words of policy and investment, because investment can mean money, but it can also mean other sorts of resources and expertise. So I think that language is both action, or you know, is both focused and broad at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely think that's an improvement for sure. So is that the language that, is this the language this group is comfortable with? This is, and I'm just gonna copy paste it to make sure that we are looking at the same last one. Or Leona, can you copy paste into the chat the last version? Or is it at the bottom?
The other thing that I would comment on is that the more time that we're spending on this, the more I understand that, unlike, and I think Brooker was the one who said something like this recently, that, you know, Vermont has been working for maybe 20 years to educate the larger community about this issue. And New Hampshire is that far behind, being really way back at the beginning, and the community at large understanding the nature of this issue and why it is the way that it is. So, you know, that whole thing about grassroots and then just how basic the work is on the New Hampshire side of the river, you know, is pretty remarkable. And figuring out what lessons might be learned from what Vermont has done could be helpful in moving forward.
If we are comfortable with this language, it'll never be perfect, but if we feel as though this best represents the work of this committee, can people give me a thumbs up so I make sure that I'm getting a consensus from people who are here, or is there other tweaks that you would like to do?
Which, referring to the one in the chat?
The one I think that Leona pasted at the bottom would be the last version.
I am not sure. I have not pasted anything. Is it the most recent one that Erica pasted in?
How about if I read it out loud so we all make sure we're talking about the same one? Advocate for policy and investment to support the increase in high quality, accessible and affordable early childhood education in the bi-state Upper Valley by growing a grassroots advocacy campaign, engaging a broad range of stakeholders and developing sustainable childcare center business models to improve the economic vitality of the region.
I would take out the word center because I think we want to be applying this to centers and home-based daycares.
Thumbs up if people are comfortable with that revision, with that paragraph, with the revision of removing the word center. Yes. Okay. And Leonie, can you make that change of removing center? Copy it and please put it in the agenda so that when I circle back around tonight, I'm making sure that I'm copying the right paragraph into the charter. I'd really appreciate your help with that. Thank you. Great. That's a lot of work right there, but I think that will help us moving forward. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts and efforts on that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the section in the agenda about potential goals. Some of these we talked about before, but you might have additional ideas based on the conversation we just had. So I am working on the same kind of thing where I'll just put information together, throw it out there for people to revise, rethink, restructure. But I do think this advocacy part of the grassroots is getting the most recent data from Vermont and New Hampshire and creating like a one-pager to push it out, to kind of get that data out, to let people know the dire need for this. And so I'll be working on that over the next couple of weeks and then pushing it out to you to add more information to it. I'm hoping that, Amy, I can also share that with Kim, because I'll be using the data from the survey that you shared with the workforce retention group, that beginning amount, and also looking at information I'm seeing elsewhere. And so if we could coordinate that effort with the pitch and plan, I will connect that with SCAN and connect that with Moms Rising, because Moms Rising has a large social network that might be able to use this data too and get the information out. We talked about creating a centralized online communication platform for ECE advocacy opportunities and information. And my question about that was, is that going to live on Vital Communities website, or where is that going to live, and what were people thinking that might look like? The project director position has been posted, and I could see that definitely as something that the new project director would hop in and begin to manage and do. But without clarifying what you were thinking of, I wasn't quite sure where to start with that. So can someone let me know about the centralized online communication platform?
I think I don't know about that, but can I circle back to the data and kind of getting data out there? The Couch Family Foundation commissioned the Carsey School to do some data collection specific to the Upper Valley and kind of supply and demand of available childcare. And we've kind of seen a draft report of that, and they're finalizing it. So we will have some of that data, and we're working to kind of put some one-pagers together too. So we can happy to share that when we have it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we have, the ECA has been working with Lucy Rescio. Kind of, she actually works for NEYC, but she's in advocacy and marketing and all that stuff. So she did some interviews with directors to talk about the impact of the ARPA money or all of the packages, and then kind of framing what the current situation is on the ground. And she does it with like, she does video overlays like of their actual statements, auditory like recordings of their statements, visuals to go with it to use for social media. It's all packaged, as well as some slides. Because I had asked, I thought, one of the things when I went to the Lions Club last year, or the Rotary Club last year, they wanted to know this. They wanted to know what was happening. And I thought it would have been really great to have like 10 slides or 5 slides to just kind of show them the numbers of what's actually happening. Yes, it was a huge investment of money. Here's what that money did, and here's where we are, and what is it going to take. Here's some solutions. Here's where you can get involved. And maybe that's a link to like, Matt's group or Moms Rising or whatever. Maybe that's just a link to bring them to where they can get involved. But
Can you
she
connect me?
does that for a living, so we're buying that from her. She's done an Upper Valley survey, and then real-time auditory audio recordings and things like that. So I'm hoping that she'll have it done within the next week.
Okay. Can you connect me with her? Because I'm seeing a lot of reinventing the wheel. So Moms Rising and SCAN, at that meeting that got canceled, they were talking about doing a storybook. Before I
Yeah, we've
came
told
this
them.
year-
We've
So-
let them know. We started this last, it was before the summer. It was like in June, May, June last year. And I told Deli and I told, the SCAN but they maybe wanted to do statewide in Upper Valley region. I'm not sure, but
And then I
We
know
look-
you'd offered Upper Valley material into the state venture with Moms Rising, yeah, which is actually part of what drew their attention to the Upper Valley for deepening their connections, was that awareness.
Okay, so that's really helpful in regard to kind of the pitch and plan idea. The centralized online communication platform will live in vital communities. And we talked about having information such as how to get into the field and who to contact. We talked about, I remember that part of it because the websites for the states were not very helpful for people coming into the field. And we talked about perhaps creating a step-by-step clear way of entry. What were some of the other things that you were thinking about putting up on the website? Besides, once we have the pitch, of course, that would go on there. Our charter would go on there, but specific for early childhood professionals, we would have the link to ECEA. If people could email me what links you'd like on that, we could begin to create something that's easily and readily accessible for people. And what other groups were we targeting in regard to a communication platform? Does anybody remember?
I don't know. I mean, unless this conversation isn't ringing a bell as much for me about kind of being a central hub for communication. I know kind of back in the early stages of planning the symposium, we wanted to have a lot of resources on the website with kind of data making the case to help educate people on the issue. And I think we can maybe continue to do that. But I think like the ECEA has so many resources. I think, again, like we don't have to always reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I'm just taking what we had from our last meeting minutes and circling it back around to make sure that I'm following up on things that came through.
Okay.
So why don't we keep this as a goal, but make it such that if people find great resources, they let me know, and then I can put it up onto the site so it doesn't get old, so that it keeps being up to date. And then the next one from the meeting was support advocacy skills and opportunities in the community. And that's where we did talk about last time, the Moms Rising scholarships for parents and community members to have voice. And that also connects with what Sarah brought up today. We talked about Week of the Young Child, and maybe at the next meeting, Amy can tell us a bit more about the vision for that and what that might look like and how we can advocate for it. And then I wondered if there are any other action steps that this work group would like to take.
I have more of a question about another stream more than a proposal or an answer. We have consistently tried to stay connected to the business community and the municipal leaders. Working, from multiple, why components of all of that. And this whole initiative was launched at Vital Communities at the request of the shared conversation of the Municipal Leaders Group, the Economic Transformation Council, and then third to the table, the Corporate Council, which is the business folks. But all three of those groups are there, and the Corporate Council had a heavy focus in their September meeting on housing and a little bit on this, just sort of an acknowledgement that this work was going on, and they want more information at their November meeting about both this initiative and and the realities that are behind the initiative. So something in our goals that has to do with the engagement with those groups, both the business / economic / municipal engines of the region. I think is something we should be in some way acknowledging or figuring out, what the opportunities are to harness. I've seen what they've been able to do in the housing domain in partnership with the usual advocates around housing in the Upper Valley area. And if we could, end up with a similar level of engagement from these employers, and right now, even something like the family-friendly policies and companies, such as are coming out of the initiative in Boston and the one that Brooke has shared with us a number of times in Austin, and then the national organizations on that. They're just, that include ECE as part of it, is something to attend to. So that's both vague and focused. Just somehow have a placeholder for this in some fashion would seem important.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And it goes back to, hoping that Lucy is able to get that information together, that the pitch and plan gets out, because in order to engage the businesses, they're going to say, we want help. In what ways can we help? So I think we have to be clear in what ways that they can help. And that's where I just haven't done that extra outreach yet, because I don't think we've been very clear in what ways that they can become very active right away. And that's something that this group, I think, needs to figure out with the, the dynamic people in this group, is if a business said, hi, I really want to help, how do we tell them how to advocate? In what ways are they helping? We heard that folks need facilities, what does that look like? We've heard, that there's different levels of support. So I think that's great. Adding the goal to the connections of support for business and municipal leaders. The other thing for this group to consider is Sean's work in Lebanon. You may not be aware of it, but he has revised the zoning regulations, and he's bringing that to city council to make it easier to have, to build either a center or to have a program in the home. And that could be a model for many other cities and towns to use. So that's one way to advocate, to be able to connect the work that he's doing in Lebanon with other places, so they're not reinventing the wheel to say that this is how Lebanon's doing. So as a municipal leader, he's sharing that with his colleagues and peers, but if he does get that through council, that's an avenue for this group to advocate and to say, if Lebanon can do this, can other places do that? I'm going to be talking to Anne about that work a little bit today when we meet with Tracy and Allison too. Other areas or goals that people can think about? I mean, I think these are action centered. There's plenty to do in the short period of time because we're going to try to chunk it by like every 3 months and then circle back and chunk it again. Any other thoughts? Any other business actions that people want to talk about today? So that's great. My next steps will be taking the language that Leona copy pasted and you all developed and adding that to the charter. I'm finalizing all the North Stars for each of the work groups, so the charter will be set. Sarah has reached out to Rick Mills. So Sonny, if you happen to see him, I think he was asked to perhaps to be on the steering committee for this group.
That
And
was
then also-
Sarah Jackson. There's the Sarah and question here.
Sorry. Yes, Sarah J. And I remember that because of Erica's mention of Dartmouth being involved with that. And so she also reached out to someone else, and I'm sorry, the two email threads came in at the same time, and I can't remember the second person, but if I don't hear back from either of them in a few days, I'll circle back around and ask if they want to be engaged in the conversation. So Sarah J also asked that I create the charter, but also do an update to the stakeholder group about what we have accomplished so far as an entire work group steering committee, and then some challenges we are still facing. So the next agenda that you'll see for each of these groups will have the updated charter with the North Stars, but I also want to hear from you what you see as successes so far of this group. And I started to document them, but also the challenges that you see. And then I will package all of that and present that to the major stakeholders. I'd like to try to do that in early November for the timing of that. Any questions? Anything you want me to follow up on in between meetings or that I could help or support with at this time? Always feel free to reach out to me if an idea pops into your head. I'm happy to follow up, to help, and to support. I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend, and it seems as though Ben & Jerry's might be a busy place. So take care. Enjoy.
Thank you.